Okay, so now Tennessee has decided not only do they want to show that they hate women, but they hate trans people as well. Because now we have a new article that the GOP, I mean, I shouldn't malign all of Tennessee. It's just the GOP. And considering the last I checked, it's considered a safe state for Trump. Yeah, I'm going to say that most people there are in this mindset. So anyway, Tennessee GOP senators okay criminalizing helping minors get transgender care, mimicking abortion bill. Because we have to show we hate everyone who isn't like us. Because we don't have empathy at all unless it affects us. Anyway, to the article. Tennessee lawmakers are considering criminalizing adults who help minors receive gender-affirming care without parental consent, a proposal advancing in one of the most eager states to enact policies aimed at the LGBTQ plus community. All right, Republican senators advanced the legislation Thursday on a 25-4 vote. It must now clear the similarly GOP-dominated House. Now, let me just remind you that this is the same body that kicked out 2 members of the legislature because they happened to oppose them while being black. So, yeah, I do not think that this proposal is going to go through because I do not have any faith in them. The bill mirrors almost the same language from a so-called anti-abortion trafficking proposal that the Senate approved just a day prior. In that version, supporters are hoping to stop adults from helping young people obtain abortions without permission from their parents or guardians. Yes, because as we all know, parents never abuse their kids, and so it's perfectly cool that they would have a say. Now, I do like at least they said guardians, but again, if the child does not feel comfortable with either choice, why not have an adult who they feel comfortable with? At least they're getting help from an adult. You should be happy about that. And seriously, you're telling me that you're perfectly cool with minors getting pregnant and having kids. That's perfectly all right. And somehow being responsible and realizing that this could ruin their lives and having an abortion, that's the bad thing. That tells you a lot about how these people feel about women and girls. Both bills could be applied broadly. Critics have pointed out that violations could range from I cannot talk. From taking I can say this word. From talking to an adolescent about a website on where to find care to helping that young person travel to another state with looser restrictions on gender affirming care services. Right. Because helping children is not what adults are supposed to do. Adults are supposed to force children to do what they want them to, as long as it's what the GOP claims is in their best interest or something. Because seriously, what is so harmful? These children know that they need help, that they need mental health help. Because let's face it, that's the first step in getting gender affirming care. It's not like they go into a gender clinic and they immediately start lopping off body parts. That is not what's happening. They realize that they have gender dysphoria, they go and get help. And the first stage is social transition, and then it's a discussion. And again, this is under mental health care. They get if need be, they can be put on hormones after they turn 18. Before that, the best they can get is puberty blockers, unless the gender dysphoria is really bad. So, just giving out information so kids don't feel like that they have nowhere to turn is a bad thing. Unless it's something they agree with, then I'm sure it would be fine. Okay, we've had 2 bills in 2 days regulate the types of conversations people can have with each other, said Democratic State Senator Jeff Yarbrough. We shouldn't be trying to violate constitutional rights, and that is what they're trying to do. The Republican sponsor, State Senator Janice Bowling, largely refrained from debating the bill and instead read portions of the proposed statute and summary when asked questions by Democrats. So far, Idaho is the only state in the U.S. that has enacted legislation criminalizing adults who help minors get an abortion without getting parental approval first. That law is temporarily blocked amid a federal legal challenge. Meanwhile, no state has yet placed restrictions on helping young people receive gender-affirming care, despite the recent push among Republican-led states, which includes Tennessee, to ban such care for most minors. Oh, just most. That's actually surprising. Instead, some democratically led states have been pushing to shield healthcare providers if they provide healthcare services that are banned in a patient's home state. Most recently, Maine attracted criticism from a group of 16 state attorneys general led by Jonathan Skrmetti of Tennessee over its proposed shield law. According to the bill, providers would be shielded from hostile lawsuits. The attorneys general described the proposal as constitutionally deficient and have vowed to vigorously avail ourselves of every recourse our Constitution provides in a letter sent to Democrat Janet Mills and other legislative leaders. Maine has every right to decide what Maine's laws are and how those laws should be enforced, but that same right applies to every state. One state cannot control another. The totalitarian impulse to stifle dissent and oppress dissenters has no place in our shared America, the attorneys general wrote in March. That sounds so similar. Where have I heard this before? Oh, right, the Fugitive Slave Act. Right. The same people who are all pro states' rights until there is a law that they favor, in which case, other states aren't allowed to have their own laws. Even though they say that every state should be able to have its own laws, but somehow they feel like they can control their constituents, and because you live in a certain state, you can't go to another state to have something done. So we could extend that. So, if, like many Wisconsinites do, I were to decide to drive to, say, Minnesota or Illinois to get pot, then I should be prosecuted for that too, because how dare I go to another state where something is legal to enjoy the benefits of that? Or if I were to go to a country, let's increase that. What if I were to go to a country where either where drugs are legal, marijuana is legal, or if I were 18 or 19 years old, and I went to a country where the drinking age was 18, and I had a beer, are you seriously telling me that the laws of the country they're citizen of could prosecute them for daring to drink when the US law is something different than in the country that they currently are in? This could get completely ridiculous. I mean, just because you're a citizen of a state does not mean that that state owns you and that you cannot do anything that violates that state law regardless of what part of the country you're in or if you're in another country. That's just stupid and really unenforceable. Because what are you going to do? Police every member of the state? Oh, actually, they might actually want to do that. Police every member of the state, every citizen of your state, to make sure that they're not going outside the state and doing something that's illegal in that state. Huh. I'm sure that they would want that. All right. Maine's Attorney General Aaron Frey responded to Skrmetti in a letter of his own that the claims are meritless. He wrote that 17 states and Washington, D.C. have already enacted similar shield laws. Unfortunately, shield laws have become necessary due to efforts in some objecting states to punish beyond their borders lawful behavior that occurs in Maine and other states, Frey wrote. The proposal that advanced in Tennessee on Thursday is just one of several the volunteer state has endorsed that targets LGBTQ plus people. For example, House lawmakers cast a final vote Thursday to send Governor Bill Lee a bill to ban spending state money on hormone therapy or sex reassignment procedures for inmates, though it would not apply to state inmates currently receiving hormone therapy. Well, at least they're grandfathering people in, but seriously? Why? I mean, unless, of course, these same people think that they shouldn't get any medical care, in which case, at least then they wouldn't be hypocritical. But I would love to know if they think that inmates should get any type of medical care. Because if they say yes, then they're hypocrites. But we'll see. The bill's sponsor, Republican Representative John Reagan, said some 89 inmates are receiving such treatment. Okay, so previously, Tennessee Republicans have attempted to limit events where certain drag performers may appear and allow but not require LGBTQ plus children to be placed with families that hold anti-LGBTQ beliefs. Okie dokie. What a great way to say we want you to die than to put them in a dangerous situation. Knowingly put them in a dangerous situation. That just screams we want you to die. I mean, how does that show empathy and compassion to LGBT plus people? It doesn't. So, and drag performers will wear drag performance. I think I did a video on this. Basically, they're trying, this is a bill in search of a problem because they're trying to prevent kids from seeing drag performers. Now, most drag performers are adult, do adult content. they do not cater to kids. So, except for the fact that there's occasionally drag story hour, um, who are you actually preventing from? I just don't understand. Because if they are doing, kid friendly performances, then there's no problem. And if I recall that this bill is um treats is only against kids seeing adult performances, which unless they have a fake ID and sneak into these places, they're not seeing anyway. And last I checked, having a fake ID is a crime. So again, how is this the drag performer's fault? But anyway, like I said, I did a video on this earlier. All right. In schools, they already have approved legal protections for teachers who do not use a transgender student's preferred pronoun because being an asshole is a good thing, apparently. Restrict transgender athletes, which I have mentioned many times that this is a sticky situation. There are still studies that are inconclusive that some say that male puberty gives an advantage to trans women athletes, and there are some that say that that's not a problem. But a lot of these bills go further, and suddenly elementary school students who never had a problem with boys and girls doing events together because there's no difference, they're not even close to puberty, suddenly the thought of having boys and girls compete against each other is the worst thing imaginable, which anyway. Limited transgender students' use of bathrooms aligning with their gender identity because, of course, only creepers go into the wrong bathroom. Seriously, if you're not paying attention, you will go into the wrong bathroom. And most of the time, people don't give a shit because they know that you made a mistake. Because people aren't assholes. Most of them aren't, anyway. At least I hope most aren't. And so, and as for my kid might feel uncomfortable. I've mentioned before, I felt uncomfortable using, going into girls' locker rooms when I had to go for Phi Ed. I felt uncomfortable because that's what teenagers do. They feel uncomfortable with their bodies, and then they might do things like compare to other girls who, in my case, who might look more developed. But that's just being a teenager. That's not anything unusual. Because again, if you're saying, oh well, they might be attracted to such and such. So are you saying that gay people shouldn't be allowed to use the boys bathroom or boys locker room, and same thing with girls, with lesbians using the girls? Because that's the same thing. They could be attracted to whom's in there, but they don't take advantage of that because they know that that's a dicey situation. It's really not this difficult here. All right. And allowing parents to opt students out of classroom conversations about gender and sexuality. Now, I have a problem with this one. On the one hand, yes, parents should have the right to teach at home, to tell their kids that, that they should be hateful, horrible people. On the other hand, that shouldn't prevent their kids from getting correct information, because sex ed is a thing. It's good to have sex ed. If for no other reason, it if you are if you're a teenager who's experiencing thoughts like that, you should know what to expect. You know, how this works, how that works. And also, you need to know what other sexual orientations are out there, and that, being trans is perfectly fine. Because those kids who you're taking out of that class could benefit, not just so they don't become hateful, but what if they secretly feel that way? And they obviously now know that their parents wouldn't accept them, so they're going to just stay in the closet and be tortured until they can get the hell away from them. So either way, this is a good thing for people to learn. Hell, I would have figured out I was asexual long before I did, if I was exposed to different orientations. So I get that parents should have some say in what their kids are taught, but you can do that at home. If you really, really, really want to, because it's biblical, which there's nowhere in the Bible that talks about trans people. But if you want that, then go to a private school. Enroll your kids in a private school or homeschool them. Why do this? Why say, yes, my kids benefit from a public education, but only to a certain extent? That makes no sense to me. Anyway, that is the end of that article. So, with that, I believe I've said everything I wanted to. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.